Let me guess. You're a landlord and you're watching this video because you want to know whether or not renting out your unit to Section 8 tenants is a good idea or a not so good idea. Well, keep watching and I'll explain the pros and the cons to renting out your property to a Section 8 tenant. Hey guys, Dara here, real estate investor and entrepreneur out of Atlanta, Georgia. And as you saw, we're gonna dive into the pros and the cons of renting out your unit to Section 8 tenants. Now, disclaimer, remember, this is business, and in business, you're not supposed to be emotional, okay? You're not supposed to do business with your heart, you do it with your head. With that being said, this is near to my heart. So I am a little bit biased, but I will try to stick to the facts, stick to the statistics, and explain the objective pros and cons to renting out to Section 8. This is something that I have personal experience with, so I will be sprinkling in a little bit of my personal experience. But I'm just trying to give you the big picture so that you can make the decision on whether or not, with your landlording business, you want to open up the floodgates to Section 8 tenants. Let's get right into it, okay? Starting, like you guessed it, with the pros. The first pro, as you may know, to renting out your unit to Section 8 is that guaranteed money. You are going to get your rent on time. Every single month, like clockwork, you can get your money on time. Just rest assured, you're gonna get your money. There's no excuses. The housing authority is always gonna pay you on time. So check that off the list. That's a pro. Everybody, obviously you're in the rental business to make money. It's passive income, it's residual income, it's mailbox money. So that's a great pro. The next pro to renting out your property to Section 8 is the fact that you are opening up the floodgates, because a lot of the American population are on the housing choice voucher program. So by allowing those tenants to potentially rent out your property, you are opening up more and more prospective applicants, prospective tenants. And that's a good thing, because if you limit your selection, then you have a limited selection. And you just never know with non-Section 8 tenants, you know, people lose jobs or things happen with them financially. And again, you're in this business to have that residual money, that residual income, and you can rest assured you're gonna get that with Section 8. The third pro is that with Section 8 tenants comes a rigorous inspection process. And I say rigorous because the housing authorities do kind of scrape your property with a fine-tooth comb, because they want to make sure that your property fits their quality and their standards when it comes to having their clients or their tenants rent from you. So from my experience, I had an inspector come and he checked everything you could think of for the property to make sure it was right for them. And I personally believe that this is a pro, because my very first rental experience was with Section 8 and with this inspection process. So had that not been the case, there would have been some things that I might have missed as far as the safety to allowing anybody to inhabit the rental. So we bought the property and renovated it, and we were like, yeah, where the tenants at? So we got this family who was on Section 8, and their inspector came and said, hey, whoa. You got this wrong with that wrong with that, that's wrong with the house, and you gotta fix this before they can move in. And I think that's a good thing, because now moving forward, I know things that I should look for whenever I buy another property, renovate it, and rent it out. So that was pro number 3. And the next pro is that's where the list stops. And now it looks like we are on to the cons. So if you heard negative talk in the streets from other landlords or investors about renting out to Section 8, it's true. Now, one of the biggest cons to renting out to Section 8 is the fact that it is gonna get towed up from the floor up. And that's a quote. Yeah. Rest assured that all that on-time money you're going to have to put away for a rainy day. And not just a rainy day. I'm talking about a hurricane, tsunami day. Okay? Unfortunately, you're going to have to put all of that on-time money, all of that guaranteed money that you receive from the housing authority right back into the property. Guaranteed. Actually, let me not guarantee, because, you know, some people have great experiences with Section 8. Some people only rent out to Section 8. However, it is something you want to keep in mind if you open up your rentals and your properties to Section 8 tenants. Another con to renting out to Section 8 tenants is that the housing authority, or Section 8, is typically not going to pay you as much as you could get from a non-Section 8 tenant. Now, of course, when you have a rental property that you're marketing and putting out there for the world to see, you know, you have your stated rent amount here. But Section 8 will come in and they evaluate your property based on whatever algorithms and things that they go by, and they say, here, this is what I can pay for, this is what we can pay for your property. Take it or leave it. But, you know, that's again up to you, because, you know, you calculate your numbers, and if it wasn't horrible, it wasn't a slap in the face, and it's okay, you want to settle on that, you can. But just know that Section 8 tenants typically do not come with the amount of rent that you could potentially get from a non-Section 8 tenant. Keep that in mind. The next con is that with Section 8 tenants comes an inspection process. Now, I know I stated it as a pro, but it could also be looked at as a con, because think about it. If you have a tenant or an applicant who is not on Section 8 and they want to come and rent your property out, they move right in based on whatever timetable that the two parties agree on. Now, with Section 8, that's not the case. So, you know, it's a government bureaucracy, and they are on their own time, okay? And you are on their own time, if you so choose to. So what happens is you have an applicant, they come and say, hey, here's all my paperwork, here's my voucher, and there is a lot of paperwork that you have to go through with people on the Housing Choice Voucher Program. So you fill out all this paperwork, you get it done, and then you file it and you send it over to the Housing Authority. Now again, the inspectors come out whenever they feel like it. So that is something that can hold up the process. You know, time is money when it comes to this business, when it comes to landlording. Time is money. The longer that your property is sitting vacant, that means you're not getting income. So yes, you might have approved this Section 8 tenant, but they can't move in and you can't start to get paid until the lease and everything is signed. So the lease can't be signed until Section 8 or the Housing Authority comes to inspect your property. And again, that's whenever they choose. So, you know, in our situation, like I mentioned, the inspector came and our property did not pass inspection on the first go around. So that means we had to go back and get, you know, some things fixed, and then call and say, hey, can you come inspect for the second time? And again, that was on their time. So we had to be delayed in when the tenant could move in and when we could start collecting rent, because the inspector had to come out whenever he could to come and re-inspect that property. So just to recap, some of the pros to renting out your property to Section 8 tenants is the fact that you will always get your money on time. You will always get your rent on time, paid in full, no questions asked. Second, this was my opinion and I looked at it as a pro, the fact that you do have to get the property inspected, especially if you're new and you're not really that experienced with renovations, then it's just another added layer of protection, I would say, for, you know, for your property and for your potential tenant. You know, if your property can pass the Section 8 inspection, then you're good. Anybody can live there, you know. And the third pro is that by allowing your rental to be open to those people who are on Section 8 or the Housing Choice Voucher Program, then you are broadening your horizon, your applicant pool, and you are saying, hey, come on in. You're welcome here. Which is good, I mean, because you help people out, I guess, but, you know. Now, to recap on those cons, the first and foremost con is the fact that your property is liable, I would say highly likely and susceptible to being returned to you in shambles, in pieces. It is a general statement, but it does not apply to everyone, obviously, because there are some bad apples that do give the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program a bad name and a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. But just, it's the truth. I mean, anybody obviously can tear up your property, but it just seems that those who are on Section 8 are just more likely to do that. And the next con is the fact that Section 8 doesn't typically pay you top dollar market rent. You could typically get more money, a lot more money out of a non-Section 8 tenant rather than one who is on the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. The next con is the fact that your property has to go through an inspection. So that process kind of delays the time frame from when you can start collecting your rent. From the time that you accept an applicant to the time that you start collecting your rent is longer for those people who are on Section 8 rather than those who are not, because of the simple fact that the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program, the Housing Authority, has to come and inspect your property. And if it doesn't pass, then they have to come and re-inspect it after you fix whatever was the issue. And all of this is on the government's time. It's on their time, so good luck. I hope that these pros and cons listed out with a little bit of sprinkle of my own personal experience have helped you decide whether or not you want to rent out your property to Section 8 tenants. Now, I will say some tips are, one, try it. You know, try anything once. The worst that could happen is, never mind, because a lot could go bad. But try it, and here's how you can avoid the mistakes and the hardship that I went through in my experience, my first experience with Section 8. Just honestly, you have to be so hard and strict and don't waver when it comes to that screening process. I mean, screen them. You know how you screen like in basketball? Like, you need to be Kobe. Clearly, I don't know much about basketball because that might be a wrong reference. But you really have to screen these people, no matter if they're Section 8 or not. Just screen everybody to a T, okay? That's first and foremost how you can avoid some of the negative things that come along with Section 8 or just being a landlord in general. So yeah, definitely screen them like you ain't never screened something in your life. Screen them like the window screens mosquitoes out. Screen them like, you know what I'm saying? Like Screen Gems does with the movies out here in Atlanta. Screen them, talk to their references, you know, and just don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to turn somebody down. I don't care if they're Section 8 or not. I don't care if you had that property vacant for months. You rather wait and be in the negative as far as, you know, making those payments on that property if you have them. You rather do that than be desperate and hurried and put any old body into your property, because that's what happens. So let's say you screen them like Kobe or whoever screens in basketball. Let's say you screened them like the expert that you are, and turns out that, you know, you might have missed something, because that can happen. Here's the next tip. The next tip is that when you go into your property on your quarterly inspection, which is something that you should definitely do, you or your property manager should definitely be in that property every 3 months just to check up on the status of your home. Because it's your home, don't be afraid to go up there. I don't care what it is. The first sign of, woo, what's going on here? You need to let them know in writing, hey, this is a warning, or this is an eviction, whatever process you want to do. Just, you know, shake them up a little bit, scare them, set them straight, you know, from the beginning, from the jump, okay? Don't let it be inspection number 3. Don't let it be month number 9 out of a 12-month lease, and you're like, oh, these holes are getting bigger. Bruh, you saw it on the first go around. That should have been nipped, you know? So definitely nip. You gotta screen and nip. Those are my tips. Oh my God, I'm wrong. Okay, you gotta screen and nip. Those are my tips. And that's how you can avoid the headaches or the negatives that come along with renting to Section 8, and really to anybody all across the board. So if you've enjoyed this video, if you've learned something, if it's helped you, if you gained some insight, or if you just like me and my stories or whatever, go ahead and thumbs up, comment below, subscribe, and please share, because I think that this is valuable information. You know, I wish I would have seen something like this before I decided to go with my Section 8 tenants, because maybe I wouldn't have. But I will say that my Section 8 tenant, and that's going to be a whole nother story for a whole nother video, it didn't thankfully like burn my tongue or my taste for Section 8. You know, I said try anything once. Here I am. I'm going to try it twice. You know, I'm going to not make that one person ruin it for everyone else. So I am still open to renting my property out to Section 8. I have just learned a lot and what not to do, which is why I'm telling you what you should avoid, so you don't have to learn how I learned. Okay, you can learn what I learned, but don't learn how I learned. So you better scream and nip, and those are my tips. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.